hello, 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 hello. All right, all right, all right. There we are. What episode is this? 151? 351? 351? All right. What is up? Welcome to episode 351 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. And this is going to be the best episode ever because we have special guest, friend of the show, Unfiltered Nerd on to talk some CDL Champs. Also, an emergency Yikes of the Week / PSA from us boomer gamer dads to you young whippersnappers out there. And, of course, some e-news to end the show with to get you caught up on the week's news. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about the show sponsor in Alt Esports. You go to altesports.com, and you can pick yourself up the best clothing that you can buy. I know you're thinking, but Tim, is it Gucci? No, it's better. It's a $25 t-shirt. It's $30 shorts. You can get tie-dye shorts with a matching tie-dye hoodie. It's top-of-the-line apparel that won't... not just break your budget, but maybe murder your entire family in the process. So you can do that, altesports.com, and you tell them the Center Ring sent you.
Hey, this is James Clayster Eubanks, and you're listening to the Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, a.k.a. TCR, a.k.a. your favorite esports podcast. Episode 351 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is August 18th, 2021. The time, 9:07 p.m. Central. Follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring. And get caught up with all the news there, I guess, if you wanted to. You can also join our Discord and be a part of the conversation. That's also pretty important. Other than that, my name is Tim. Hello. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend, my friend's whose computer restarted and somehow is already back up in the middle of the intro. It's Anuj. What is up?
Did you know that my computer restarted when you started?
Like right when I hit, started the intro, your camera went away, and I didn't know what you were doing.
Oh yeah, no, it just randomly restarted. It said I had a Windows update that shot through and restarted my shit just now. So I was like, oh Lord. He said the timer was at 2 minutes, about 1 minute and 58 seconds ago. So panic started texting you right there.
Okay. So it did restart. I mean, it was right when I started the intro, your thing went away. So good timing. Good timing.
Great timing.
The
great
shortest
That's
Windows
why we invest
update.
in new PCs around here, Tim.
Yeah. Gotta always count on Windows updates just to be completely awful timing. But also our special guest, who's not brown, but he is also my best friend. It's Unfiltered Nerd. What's up, man?
What's up?
Thank you for coming on the show again. We had you on for our E3 preview, which I think in retrospect, we did very well. A lot of correct predictions.
Yeah, you nailed the Netflix one.
I did.
Absolutely destroyed that one.
I did.
I made a lot of bad ones because there's a lot of games that I was like, there's no way they don't show it here. But hey, for the E3 type people that love the hype trailers, next week is Gamescon. Xbox has a showcase. Hopefully we find out when Halo comes out. And then there's an opening night, which is going to be like Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. It's like a mini one, but he does the opening stuff. So
you think they will give us a Halo date? Do you realistically think so?
When else are we going to get it? Everyone's rumoring it to November. I mean, I'm expecting it in November. That's kind of the normal Halo date, late October, early November. But we just haven't heard. And usually we've heard by now when the date is. But maybe it's because of the stuff that happened last year. I don't know.
I thought they would have given us another play test by now to kind of get some further information of hey, we are green light, ready to go. So I hope for a release date as well. But I'm a little skeptical, but without, I think, one more actual PvP playtest, which they haven't done yet. Hopefully we get that soon too.
I'm signed up for it though. I'm waiting for that email.
Were you in the first one, the tech test?
I was not. I was busy waiting in split gate queues for an hour before I could play.
We got into the tech test for Halo, and I mean, it was fun. It was a tech test, though, right? So,
Mhm.
like, were we like grinding it all weekend? No, because it was against bots. So, I have some
My
dignity as a gamer.
my friend that like is a big Halo guy, like usually he always says he used to compete against Ninja and like big like Halo 2 player and competitor. He said he thinks that just from the play test, this is probably the best Halo that 343 is going to have made. He thinks it's going to be better than Halo 5 just mechanically. Obviously, you got to see the other stuff. He just said early prediction.
We liked it also. We
Yeah.
came out both feeling pretty positive too. There's like little things that we want to see like kind of updated, especially within like the UI and stuff like that. But gameplay wise, it did feel pretty good.
Now, I would argue that the bar for the best 343 Halo isn't that high. I was not a fan playing Halo 5, but I'm 31 and a Halo purist, so I also will admit, like, take my opinion on what is the best Halo with a grain of salt, because it's got like 10 pounds of nostalgia tied to it. So,
Right.
like,
Right.
I admit that. But no, it was fun. The test was fun, and it's all you could ask for. Obviously, a ton of bugs, which is why I think they need to have another one, but hopefully we'll see. You see, when is Gamescon?
Next Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday, I think, is the
Wednesday?
Xbox One. Wednesday is the opening night live.
Okay, so we'll see.
All right.
Maybe we'll
It's
get
not too far away.
maybe we'll finally get at least a soft date, or at least more information on when tests are coming, because after the tech test, we both said it on the show, it doesn't seem like an early holiday release. It definitely seems, especially because like the MP is free to play. I don't know how concerned they are like getting it out here like before Black Friday. Like, I don't know how many
True.
people like with digital distribution, like they could put that out at any time and someone's going to buy it. It's a brand new game, so it's going to be $60 or whatever they charge. It doesn't matter. You don't have to get it out before sales. So I don't know if the urgency there is anymore for the holidays, but we'll see. So anyways, that's exciting. But we also have exciting stuff right around the corner in the world of esports, because CDL Champs is here. We have waited all year. Surprised that this was not delayed, just given COVID and whatnot was going on, especially within the league. But the CDL Champs is here. It's this weekend, starts August 19th, which, looking at my calendar, is tomorrow. So that's when we have the first round. So by the time you're listening to this, maybe it's already started, maybe not. Just depends, I guess. If you're an early bird and you can listen to this early in the morning, then you're good. But that doesn't defeat the purpose of talking about it. And so that's why we brought you on, Nerd, just to talk about it. Can I ask you this?
Mm-hmm.
Do people call you Unfiltered, or do they call you Nerd?
Both.
Okay.
Depends on the person, what they want to they prefer. I don't care either way. Some people like get offended. I think I said this last time. Some people get offended about being called a nerd. Dude, I'm fucking owning it now. It's 2021. I can be called whatever the hell I want at this point, kind of.
No.
So like,
Have you
might
seen
as
like?
well we go with nerd. It's not that bad.
Nah, yeah, like my buddy the other week, my buddy made a joke about liking anime and being a virgin. I'm like, bro, have you seen half the titty streamers on Twitch? Like, this isn't like what it was when we were in high school, bro. Like, you'd be cleaning up right now watching Dragon Ball Z in high school. Like,
yeah, you walk into high school and you're like, I'm hot and I watch Dragon Ball.
what's up? What's up, ladies? It's not like what it was.
And I watched Naruto start to finish.
Right. Not like back when I had to hide my Vegeta action figure from my girlfriend back in the day. No. Times have changed. You can be a...
Oh, I have on my TV stand, I have like 35 Funko Pops and a Cuphead Lego set. Like,
you and Tim should see
girl that
have
walks
more.
in my house right now, like, they know. And if they don't like it, they can leave. That's what I say.
It is what it is at this point. You can be the biggest virgin in the world and still do pretty well for yourself in the bedroom.
I know Tim has at least had sex twice, and he has about double those Funko Pops. So you're doing okay.
And I hate them all. I hate Funko Pops.
You have so many.
Hate them because I was signed up to one of those like loot boxes, you know, and I was just never attentive enough in life to cancel it. So it was like every other month I would get it, and I'm like, damn it, I need to cancel this, and I would never get to it. And then 2 months later, I get another one, and they just all have Funko. I hate them. There's like maybe one or two.
To go too off track, but do you guys want to see what my best thing is? It's like right here.
Go for it. Show and tell. And we'll have to describe it to our podcast listeners. But No, I have.
You're gonna know what it is as soon as I show it. But this is.
I have a
I don't even
ton.
play this game anymore. But this is a completely sealed Travis Scott Astro World Fortnite set, and I'm just banking on this being the. It's not going to be the Mario 64. I'm just banking on like this thing being worth a whole lot of money.
All right, that's pretty badass.
How much
So
did that?
80 bucks, and I'm like, this thing is never leaving. It's going to be going into a case in like the next home that I go to.
How much did that
And-
run you to begin with?
So it's 80 bucks right now. It was 80 bucks, and you had to wait like 6 months to get them because they only made them made to order.
Oh,
And
that's surely profitable.
And then this is
Can you still buy them?
No, you can't buy them from Fortnite. You have to buy them on resale. So they're already on the resale market. They're not selling for a lot right now, but this is like I'm pretty
Long
sure
term.
this is going to be worth a fuck ton of money in like 10 years. So this is
You
like an investment.
need Travis Scott to keep doing his thing. That's the in Fortnite,
I
not
need
to
Travis
die.
Scott and Fortnite to be like, I need Fortnite to become like the biggest like pastime of like our current generation, which it will be. And then this I made myself. This is like my favorite thing that I have.
Oh, there you go.
A little.
There you go.
So, yeah,
the guy from Ninja Turtles. What's his name?
Casey Jones.
Casey. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
It's his mask.
Badass.
Awesome. So, I mean, we all have virgin-like stuff in our gaming room, but that's okay because, like I said, it's 2021 and that's okay. Chicks dig it. So, from what I'm told, me and Anuj were way ahead of that curve, and our wives do not dig it. In fact, they wouldn't mind if like a fire just hit our office and just stayed in that office for a while and didn't infect the rest of the house. But
didn't kill you.
They've learned to live with it, is what it
yes.
is.
Yeah, you got to,
Kind of.
especially with my.
We don't have. There's no his and her setup in this house.
No. So, but that being said, we do have champs coming up this weekend. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. And I mean, really no structure here because obviously we'll spend all day trying to do each game predictions, and then one upset will happen, and then everything's thrown off. First things first, though, it is going to be, just to set the setting, it is going to be in LA. It is going to be offline, so every team's flying out there now. It will have fans, so despite even players recently having COVID, they've all been tested negative, got the green light. I do think, and you guys can probably remind me, you have to either be vaccinated and show proof or show proof of a negative test, though, to go.
I think you have to show the negative test, I believe.
Okay.
And you have to have a mask the entire time,
And
regardless of either of
All
those.
right. So if you are going, those are probably pretty two easy standards to hit, a negative test and just wear a mask. But on the bright side is we get to have champs with fans, which is the only way to have it.
100%. Like that's like I said, I'm more surprised than anything that this is happening this way, just because it has been not only just a rough time, obviously, in the country, but like it's just affected Call of Duty in the biggest way possible with Scump and Envoy both testing positive a week before Champs goes off. So obviously, not only do you have panic that two of your star players, but it's two of your star players from your biggest organization were potentially going to miss out on the event. So I thought for sure after their positive test, we would see no fans in the arena, but they did surprise all of us, bringing it to the big stage, going to have fans, $2.5 million on the line, which is just an absurd amount and so awesome for those guys. 1.2 million to first, 650 to second. So really, like, I mean, this is awesome. This is what we've wanted from Call of Duty. We wanted to get back, obviously, on land. Everyone says it makes the biggest difference in the world, so no excuses, I guess you could say. And everybody's attending. Like, all the players are going to be there. We have all the starting lineups. Clayster is back. Like, all of these things kind of fell in at the right time to happen, and we should have a good event in front of us.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say,
I'm excited.
and I'm kind of curious on your input because we've talked about it to death on the show, but Nerd, with you here, I want to get your input because the four teams that aren't there, Seattle, London, LA Gorillas, and Paris Legion. Now, some players have voiced up about it. A lot of fans have voiced their opinions on this and all think that, no, all 12 teams should be there. This is champs. Everyone deserves a shot. Anuj and I are in the opposite pool. We think You've had all season to get your shot in. This is champs for a reason. If you really thought you deserved to be there, then you should have been at least a top 8. And really, when you look at the top 8, Florida is last seed on there. They're the 8th spot, the last team to make it, with 210 points on the season. Next up after them, 9th, where the cutoff was, Seattle at 120. So it's like you can't even make the argument like, oh, Seattle was so close, they should have made it. Like, no, you had all season to try.
Yep. Yeah, I think that the thing that people want is they want the old structure, which is more like a March Madness. Everybody goes, everybody competes. There's huge upsets. You know, that's what everyone wants and everyone remembers. And they're right. I mean, that had more viewership and there's more stuff with that. But if they're in a league, which is they've been in for 2 years, and yeah, it does suck that you don't have as many matches and as much stuff going on. But yeah, you're right. Like Seattle has 120 points, but that's because the last 2 events on LAN, they went off. And they didn't really go off. They beat up the European teams twice and then upset FaZe, which is huge. And I think that speaks more to them being, that if they were on LAN, they probably were good. But they have 8 teams out of a 12-team league in the playoffs already. Like
you got to make the regular season mean something. Like the regular season to me has to mean something.
Yeah, and all the guys that are like working their butt off all the regular season to get a good seed, like if you don't have the regular season mean something, why are they working their butt off? They might as well just dick around for 5 stages, play just for the tournaments because they're the most points, and then just like everyone goes to champs. Like, so what's the point? Like the FaZe could win in the 12th seed. Like it's not like the seeding is really that advantageous, it seems like, other than the 2 teams.
I think to Tim's point for this year, it's so valid, right? Like nobody was just close. There wasn't that argument to make, hey, this team should have been there, that team should have been there. We had a clear 8 that were ahead of the pack. You know, we had 4 other teams, LAN, no LAN. To me, it doesn't matter. Like everyone's having to play in not ideal conditions, right? And so you saw other teams relocate. If your org, wanted to help facilitate that, they could have, So I feel like this gives the regular season meaning. I'm okay with them increasing that number if they increase the number of teams in the league, right? Yeah. So if they add on and we have 4 more teams next year, I'm okay with 4 more teams making it into champs, and it's continuously maybe like the bottom 4 that were out. That grassroots style, though, of where everybody makes it and you have a crazy big field, that was fun for a grassroots style game, right? Now we're kind of in the big leagues. You're trying to manage this like a professional product. This is how leagues generally work, and I'm okay with that. Obviously, I think the biggest issue here is we just want more teams in the league to make this a better league experience.
Well, given that all the sponsors are dropping the league, I don't think anyone, like we all 3 might be able to pitch in and afford a team slot at this rate. Like
no one, I don't think they've already said before that all that happened that they were probably not going to grow the league this year,
right?
Because for some reason, Activision's like, oh, let's charge more. You just had a horrible year with COVID. You didn't make near the money you probably did, but you know what? We're going to come back this year with an online league, and then next year people are going to be willing to pay more than everyone else that just did for a team. No, they're not. So.
No. I think there's a good chance they go back on that word now, right? Because now that everything that's happened since, you've lost your sponsors, you need to find a way to make money on this. And what is one way to do that? Lower your buyout fee, get more interest, at least generate some income that way. Have more people promoting your product, right? If there's 6 more teams in the league, that's 6 more organizations that are going to be dedicated to promoting a product that you are trying to sell, right? So if they were smart, I think they would go the opposite direction with this. Cut the price. Sucks for the teams that were early birds, but there was also an advantage to being an early bird. You built a fan base and a legacy for some of these teams and whatnot. So
Toronto Ultra, I mean, where they are right now, they're gonna, if 4 more teams join, like Toronto Ultra has such a better fan base already than they didn't have any like old like COD roots or anything.
No, and a lot of these teams don't. A lot of them, at least from the outside perspective, you see these names and you don't really recognize. Dallas Empire, obviously there, Chicago Optic, Atlanta FaZe, those teams have some sort of legacy, but the rest of them, just off city and logo, hard to associate unless you've gone back and looked at who the parent company is or something like that. You might
Yeah.
not know that stuff, and so I think they should expand it, but that's a story for another day. We obviously
Mhm.
have this event, here in front of us that's about to kick off here in less than 24 hours. And I want to talk a little bit at least about round one, right? Because that's the one round we for sure know what the setup is. We know what the teams are. And I think we got some killer matchups in
Oh
front
yeah.
of us. And the highlight matchup for me is looking at that Chicago New York game.
Yep.
All the storylines that one could imagine, right? Clayster coming back and rejoining New York after a month-long absence. You have Scump and Envoy, kind of rejuvenating the fan base by testing negative, and everyone knows that they're going to be there. And those two teams, to me, also have been on a similar path throughout the season, minus the part of Clayster's departure, where they really kind of sunk down a little bit there. But both of these teams have kind of been in that middle of the pack, and we've liked both of them at times. And then there's moments where you're like, oh, I don't know if they have a chance to win champs at all. And so, want to get your take. Where do you sit with the Chicago New York matchup?
So I think it's going to be really a matchup of who can bounce back quickly in just terms of like the outside of COD events, like impacting their performance and their preparation for champs. Like Clayster being out for a month. Yeah, he was there. He was watching. I'm sure that I think he took a complete break, like completely gone. And I think there's a little bit of bad blood there. Asim on the flank kind of like DM something about, hey, like uh, we he just kind of left, but that's fine. We're just gonna keep grinding. So I don't know how well that all transitions back, like with the chemistry of the team. And then on the optics side, you know, they seem to anything kind of goes out of place. Nothing is a perfect preparation. They seem to have a lot of issues getting back in the groove. And I don't know how long Envoy and Scump weren't able to practice with the team. That's a lot of time that Dashy and Formal aren't playing with their team. Yeah, they can be playing with General and Sender and not I don't think Sender's the backup, but like that's time that you could be preparing that's gone because the players can't play to their max like playing, or they're not playing at all because they have COVID. So really this is going to be a really big matchup of who can recover from that best and play to their play in form. But I think you got to give the edge to Optic because of the green wall being there. And New York has kind of had a little bit of a problem with mental, and Clay really gets on his guys. And I can definitely see on that stage them getting down and the green wall just being in their face and them just like taking themselves out of it. And Optic maybe doesn't have to play all that great if they, if New York kind of takes themselves out of the game.
So that's part of my thing is, so first, full disclosure, New York was my dark horse pick at the beginning of the season to win champs this year. So for a little bit there, it looked like a really good pick. But with Clayster taking his break, I'm kind of with you where it's like, mentally, I don't know where he's at. I also think, like, bold prediction, if we see any big retirements this offseason, Clay might be that one. Like, this break almost told me a little bit that maybe which, no disrespect, like, the dude's obviously a legend, Hall of Famer, so it's okay, but maybe he's just over the grind, right? He's getting older. Maybe he's just like, you know what? I kind of won champs. He felt really disrespected on how Empire ended things with him. He might just be like, I'm tired of the grind. I don't want to get this back and forth mess going on. I don't want to go from Dallas to New York, and then maybe next season I'm going to Toronto or wherever, right? Because he is that veteran player that, unfortunately, is in traditional sports. We see it all the time. Those veteran players just bounce around towards the end of their career.
He also has a streaming or content creation career ahead of him.
Of course.
Right? Like, it's not like, or, honestly, the other transition could be into Halo or something like that if he wanted to, right? You'd think he would be, he's a good gamer. We've all seen him play other games. But yeah,
some of
Clayster's
us
one
has
of the
played
few
with
that-
him, Anuj, and as someone who has played with Clayster and did a clutch that he witnessed, you can see video
gave you a
proof.
follow on it.
You can see proof of that, and he does remember it, as proven on this show. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, no, he's the one that makes sense as a possible. You could see him stepping away maybe at the end of the year.
I think a lot of pros are going to be looking at what Zuma just did, and I don't think everyone's going to go out and make something like the flank. I mean, Zuma's just that's a creatively genius move to do. But even outside of the flank, Zuma's doing phenomenal transitioning from
Nameless is also doing really good.
yeah, and you got to think like if I'm Scump and I'm just sick of it, or I'm Clayster or even Krim, or some of these guys that are just kind of getting fed up and are like, you know what, I've won my rings, or I've had my fun, I'm ready to go have a it's not going to be stress free, but it's definitely, I think, a lot less stressful for them, especially at the gate, to be like, Zuma just did it and blew up. I know that I have a huge fan base within the Call of Duty community. I probably can do that too, and they already kind of do that already outside of their stream. So,
And they're also
I
coming from
placed her smile and laugh more playing any other game other than COD.
And they're also coming from the old days, right? So they've seen, it's just like a company. They're seeing this under new management, and no one likes new management, regardless.
Oh,
So the younger guys have no problem with the league and how it's set up, because it's just, hey, I want to be a pro and this is what I need to do. Where the older guys are like, no, we knew what we had to do, we did it, and now they've changed the rules and how it works, and this isn't right.
Yeah.
And then the league is kind of like, yeah, well, we're kind of bigger than you, whether that be true or not, right? That's the league's
make the game
right. Yeah, right.
Oh.
You kind of need us, so no matter what you guys say.
And all these guys will be retained by their org or a org.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Stump's not leaving Optic post retirement.
No,
Like,
they'll
he's gonna
still
play
be
under-
attached to the
He's going
game.
to get the Optic banner and do his thing
No,
there. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, this game definitely has two legends going head to head in it. I love the fact that we do get to see Clayster and Scump go at it again, even if it's potentially for the last time. I agree with you guys. I think the week off for Optic doesn't affect them nearly as much. They're one of the few teams that's had the same lineup all year, so they've had consistency issues all year. So that doesn't take that away from them. But in terms of missing a couple days of practice, I don't know how much it's necessarily going to affect them in the big picture, because they still had a week of practice, leading up to this, as well as like the on land practice that they're getting right now over the last few days prior. So I do think Optic pulls away there and it is able to take at least a first round W and knock New York into the losers.
So I will say this, though, with everything that we just said, I don't think that, because I think, and I've always thought, Optic are mental midgets, and as soon as they have to face any type of adversity, they crumble under the pressure. And if they find that one excuse to grab onto, they will.
I think that'll happen in like the next round, right? Like I think if they go up against a team, like they're gonna have to go up against FaZe in round 2 if they win. I think that's where we could see them shrink, because I think they also know that FaZe is the better team, and most teams recognize it. Some teams wouldn't bother them as much. I don't know if Optic is really up for that challenge because of the consistency issues. Like I just don't know where the inner faith is. Like I'm sure they believe they can win, but when it comes down to game time, like Atlanta is just so damn good. That's where I could see them taking their first loss and dropping into lowers. I'm kind of just as torn with the other matchup, which surprises me, which is our Dallas Minnesota matchup in round 1, just because of what Minnesota was able to accomplish in stage 5 leading into champs. Had you asked me a minute before that game, I would have told you Dallas would be able to take Minnesota first round champs, no problem. But you want to talk about coming off of a high. Minnesota is coming off of the biggest comeback in Call of Duty history, a best of 9, being down 4-0 to Toronto and making that comeback. And if you're telling me they don't want another shot at playing Toronto in the next round, you've got to be kidding me. Like this group has got to be just as motivated as any other team out there. And frankly, they have a lot of veterans on this team. This is not some like rookie team that came out of nowhere. This is a team that struggled throughout the year, but they have players like Attach, Priesta, Major. Like these guys have been there and done that. And then they have the stellar Standy, who has kind of come out of nowhere and probably is going to take like rookie of the year honors the way he's played. I don't know if he actually will, but he's been fantastic this year for Minnesota. And Dallas's inconsistencies have been there. So this is one of those where to me, it's a 50-50 matchup from where we left off. I still think Dallas edges them out, but I'm not sold on that pick at all.
Oh, well, first off, it's Cardiac Rocker. Minnesota Rocker doesn't exist. Cardiac Rocker is the only thing that actually exists in this team. Every game they play is close, whether they win or lose. It goes down to game 5. It goes down to round 11. And every time they play Dallas, including last year, it's always electric. So it's a phenomenal matchup. But I'm the opposite. I think Rocker are peaking at the right time. I think Standy is a future star of the league, the way that he's playing. Rocker are my team, so I'm a little biased. I know Jake Reppin and Brian Saint, the 2 coaches guys, and they've done a phenomenal job where a lot of other teams have been shuffling their cards a lot. They only made a couple changes. And think about this. They had to bench Accuracy, who just made the play of the year, like the stage before.
Yeah.
Bring in Major Maniac, make that hard decision. And then if you guys haven't listened to the speech, you got to go on the Rockers channel and listen to what they said before to psych their guys up for the comeback. It was phenomenal.
Was that attached that was talking?
It was Brian.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't heard that.
Brian and Jake, yeah, they pumped them up, and it was great. Yeah, they're this team, I think, is very special. I think they're very dangerous, and I agree with you. Dallas is very good too. I mean, you can't take Shotzi and Vivid and how well they've played all year and take that for granted. But Rocker's just playing very, very well as a complete team, and it's gonna be close again. I think this is a game 5, but I'm going with Rocker, and I honestly am riding with Rocker to win the whole thing.
Wow, champs and everything.
Yep.
Now,
I think
know,
they're peaking at the right time, and they're gonna run all the way through it.
And I know Wolf in Twitch chat mentioned it that people are saying Rocker are struggling in scrims. I don't know how much scrims are scrims. People try new things in scrims. People hide things in scrims. So teams that look at scrims and everything take it with such a grain of salt, right? Like for teams to report that this team's struggling in scrims, I feel like that's just to create social media.
But they were a 500 team. I mean, they finished 19 and 17 or something like that. Minnesota, that's my only fear for them is although the advantage they have, like you said, is they're peaking at the right time. That's huge in any game. Peaking at the right time can be everything. The difference between first place and last place. But we mocked Dallas a little bit, not mocked, but we've given them a hard time because they haven't been a dominant team. They still finished well above 500 throughout the season, and still finished top 3 in several of the majors throughout the year, and really looked good. They've had one position that's kind of been rotated out a bit. So yes, they've had a roster change, but it's really been for one slot. I think we get a hell of a matchup here. That's really what I think we're getting here is we're going to get a matchup that probably goes down to the wire and ends up being a difficult choice either way. But I think the winner's really going to deserve this particular matchup because both teams are Dallas is trying to defend a championship. They have a lot on the line themselves, right? They don't want to go on land and get knocked out, first round. That would be a devastating blow to their ego and everything that C6 stands for. The guy is just a winner. So I think we're getting a really, really good matchup. Minnesota's advantage, like you said, peaking at the right time, and that might be enough to carry them over.
I also feel like with Dallas, it feels like this year and even last year, and maybe this is just because they have Crims on the team and just the drama surrounding that roster that always seems to be there, is they're always playing to prove themselves. They're always playing to prove something wrong. It just seems like when Dallas lose, Reddit and Twitter and everyone else in the world just thinks blow up the roster, they've lost it, Optic's better, right? It just seems like they constantly have the Optic fanboys just waiting for them to slip up once, and so it blows up ooh, Dallas isn't that great. But like Anuj said, they finished 3rd in the league with all the distractions.
I'm rooting against Optic. I think that Optic winning champs the first year since they get the Optic name back would be a phenomenal storyline. Greenwall's there. They finally kind of get over the hump. But for anyone that's saying that Optic isn't the worst team in the winners bracket right now, Optic's the only one in the winners bracket that hasn't made it to a final of one of these majors. They've not even placed, I think they've placed 3rd once.
Yeah.
This is a team that has not made it to the championship game all season and has struggled in the regular season, and they haven't made a roster change. And yes, they've had their ebbs and flows and like a lot of excuses, like you said. But anyone that's sitting there saying, "Oh, Dallas is worse than Optic," you're a fool. Like, yes, talent wise, if you just take the talent, yeah, I would agree with you that
The
yes,
names more than
yes,
anything.
yeah, but like, there's no reason that Optic should not be viewed as a dark horse to win this.
And then Joe, jumping down to losers bracket, and then we'll get to Atlanta, Toronto later in the for the top tier of the upper bracket. But in losers, you have LA Thieves and Florida. We can kind of just talk about them combined. Florida, again, I think a disappointing year for them. I guess you made champs, which is you just get to the dance, right? That's what everyone says. Just get into it, and anything is possible. But for me, Florida still had a disappointing season.
They weren't the same team as last year, right? Like last year, they rode this high of what? I think they took 3 majors last year, if I'm not mistaken. Like they played so well, and they kept coming out of what felt like nowhere because you had this Dallas and Atlanta kind of running the show. Optic was right there behind, but those were your 3 teams that it felt like throughout the year. And then somehow Florida kept sneaking in and getting a win at every major. And by the end of it, it was like, what the hell's going on? Like this team is the real deal. This year, I think they're playing a little bit more at the level that we would expect them to. Like this is not a roster that I would sit there and say is a top 3 roster in Call of Duty. Maybe not even like I wouldn't even say they're a top 5 roster. So I do think they are excited to be in the dance, right? Like that is going to feel like somewhat of a win. Not if you ask them, obviously they're going to tell you they want to win it all, but they made it through the gauntlet. They took a top 8 finish. I think they're going to finish 8th in this event. I don't see them being able to beat either Minnesota or Dallas. If I think that's who they would play if whoever loses that matchup. I don't see them being able to scrape that out. Feel a little different about LA Thieves, however. I think that's a really tough out.
I feel completely the opposite.
You think
Oh,
Florida is the tough out?
Navy Grays, the opposite. I don't think they're top 3. I don't think they're top 5. I think that, but if you look at the talent and you look at what they've done this season, they have beaten some of the big dogs a couple times, and they have shown signs of them being able to put it together. And I'm just always in the mindset of the one team that everyone's going to count out is the team that's going to surprise everyone. I actually called the stage 2 Toronto. I was looking through the bracket with a bunch of the guys that I used to do a pod with, and we were like, if there's anyone in this thing that we just are like, there's no way they're going to make it, it's Toronto. And we're like, and that probably means they're going to win the whole thing. And then they won the whole thing. So it's like Florida, I'm not saying is going to win the whole thing, but if I'm going to pick somebody in the losers bracket to win a match, I think Florida does it. And they're going to have to play the loser between Optic and Subliners, who I'm not sure how they're going to bounce back on the same day against a team that's hot and ready to go like Florida after losing,
But so when you say Florida's hot, like the same thing that you said about Optic applies to Florida in this case. I don't think they finished above 5th or 6th in any of the majors. They didn't qualify for 2 of them. To me, they showed no breath of life throughout the year. LA Thieves, yes, they've had their struggles, but they've had some peaks in the season that have made them look decent. I think the kicker here for me with LA Thieves is the addition of John. John, a lot of people are going to obviously recognize the name, but there's probably a lot of them out there that if you've been watching Call of Duty for the past 2 years only, probably don't know who the guy is, And he is a phenomenal player that brings just a veteran experience to a team that has a lot of that, but a lot of different personalities. And to me, he seems like a little bit more of a calming presence potentially to this team. I mean, you look at who they're sending out there. They got Slasher, they got Kenny, John. Like this is not a just throw it out there random group of guys. Like these are experienced veterans. I feel all of them at this point, and I give them a little bit more faith than that. Florida, the exact reason you feel Optic is a dark horse is kind of why I just don't have a lot of faith because they haven't shown me anything on the biggest stages. They've had some good wins in the regular season, but on the biggest stages, they've really just struggled in those moments.
Yeah, I think about Awakening and Skies. It's not Skies of this season, but the Skies of last season. And I don't think Neptune. Yeah, I don't think Neptune is as good as any of the guys on the LA Thieves. But I think Awakening and When Skies is on are better than a lot of the guys on the LA Thieves right now, and just in terms of how they've been playing in this game. And I just there's something about LA Thieves where they just changed the roster so many times. They did play the last major with John, but they were on LAN and they were playing that major, and I just was not. There was nothing about their performance in any of the games that they played, even though they played like one of the teams they played really, really close. I don't remember who it was. It's a big team. I just never at any point was I like, this team's not going to beat FaZe. This team's not going to beat. They got to play the loser between Rocker and Empire.
And see, and
Do
that's
you
where
see them beating either of those teams? I don't at all.
I don't
See,
see
I-
either one
I
of
could-
these teams winning. And exactly like how you were saying, Nerd, is with LA Thieves, albeit like I guess it's their first season with this ownership in the league, right? But they, and I don't know if it's, I mean, not really any fault of their own, because I am not gonna put the Hook thing on them. Like that was totally his fault, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
shit luck on their part. But it just seemed like all the moves that they tried to do on the season, and none of it really played out the way they were hoping.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was so many moves. It was just almost overwhelming with the number of moves LA Thieves made this year. It was like a constant roster swap, almost with a 3-man rotation that was going in and out, and it never honestly went to the lineup that most fans wanted at certain times. They kind of always made the opposite move of what you thought they would do or should do in that situation. But maybe now they find a little consistency. I know we talk about Dallas and Rocker, like could they beat either one of them? In my mind, like if Rocker loses to Dallas, I think that could be a pretty defeating loss for them, because all of a sudden that momentum that you were carrying over from the one event where you peaked could disappear at that point. I'm not saying it will, but we know the mental states of these guys can be fragile at times, to say the least, right? And so, Dallas would be a tough out, I think, for any team. Minnesota with the momentum can be a tough out for any team, but if they lose that momentum and head into losers, that's going to be a close 50-50 match to me. I wouldn't say it's like a guarantee one way or the other, because outside of stage 5 major, they've both been kind
Right.
of similar throughout the year.
I look at them more like if my the way that it works in my head in the losers bracket is if Optic or New York lose, I think that Florida has a good chance to catch them off guard and not in the rebound. And with the other way, I think that both Rocker and Dallas are going to have the opposite reaction, just the way that they've played this year. Like if they lose, they're going to be like, all right, we're not freaking losing and going home. Versus LA, which I don't know, they have never come out on fire. I've never seen LA come out and just be incredible off the gate, other than against teams that they're obviously better
Supposed
than.
to like be, yeah.
So
No, and
yeah.
there's a reason both of these teams are in losers, right? Like we would have to expect the unexpected from them. If they have a chance, they're in the tournament. You give them some odds to take it, but at the end of the day, they're both going to be underdogs with whatever team I think they face ultimately in the next round. And that leads us into the kind of the two big boys of the tournament, the two most consistent teams throughout the year. One of them being, probably the most consistent team we've ever seen, that being Atlanta FaZe. They'll be sitting there in upper round 2, waiting for the winner of Chicago, New York. And then you have Toronto on the other side of the bracket, waiting for the winner of Dallas and Minnesota. And I don't think there should be any doubt in any of our minds that these are the two best teams in the league, and they've proven that not just with one major here and there. They've consistently been fighting for major championships throughout the whole year.
Yeah, and I've said it once before, with the Atlanta FaZe dropping in the 5th major, right? Last place, embarrassing outing by them. I take that tape and I throw it away, because they did the same thing last year, and although they didn't win last year, they performed poorly at the end of the year, but they still made the grand finals of champs. And if it weren't for Dallas just pulling a rabbit out of their hat, Atlanta would be your defending champs. So I still don't, like, some people are like, ooh, Atlanta played pretty poorly at the end. Listen, Atlanta FaZe has earned, or should have earned, enough respect from every fan out there to where it's like, you don't doubt them because they had one performance at the end of the year when they've already clinched first place in the league. Like, I don't think mentally they were too concerned about performing their best in the 5th major. So I don't give any thought to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, as a legal esports gambler, I do a little bit, and that's just
Uh-oh.
because of
Uh-oh.
I do not. Let me start by saying this: Atlanta was the Sentinels of COD. I mean, you guys talk about Valorant all the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
so anyone that doesn't know COD, I mean, they're just as dominant. I mean, they've won 3 out of the 5 major tournaments. They've only lost 7 regular season matches. They're in the regular season standings. They're up by over 100 points. Like they are the most dominant COD team in terms of this league that we've seen the last 2 years. But I just have in the back of my head, and it's not anything, everything you said is correct. I just have in the back of my head a thought saying, did they peak too early? And I know that's an abstract thing, but listen, if I was going to be an analyst, I would be on ESPN, but I'm not. I'm a very like gut feel has to play a little bit of a role in this because I've been screwed too many times by not following my gut and trying to follow stats and everything. And so the back of my head just says, I think this team is going to make winners finals. I think they're going to be the team that comes out of the winners bracket. Um, but can and if they do, my brain still says, hey, they're going to not make the same mistake they came out last year. They're going to come out strong on Champ Sunday. They're going to be even more prepared. They're probably going to wake up at 4 a.m. They're going to like be ready to go. But I just in the back of my head just keep thinking, has someone already surpassed them by making a late season push on especially some of these maps that they lost on? Because that's the argument about scrims is a lot of teams are not going to look as good as they usually do because they're trying to finish out the maps in their map pool because they may have to play a map that they don't usually play and don't play well on for millions of dollars this weekend. So like there may be a reason why some of these teams don't look as good. So don't pay as, like you said, don't pay as much attention to scrims, focus on the stats. And yes, FaZe is going to be incredible, but I'm just
I
I'm
would
holding
really be
a little
shocked
bit of
if
my cards.
I would really be shocked if FaZe didn't come out the winner of this event. I mean, yes, their last run wasn't their best showing. We all know that. Everybody saw that. They had already clinched the number 1 seed, regardless of how they had finished there. They obviously would have wanted to get the win because there was money tied to it. So I'm not saying they just sat there and threw, but there's a bigger picture here, and that's champs. And I think this is not an inexperienced team by all means, right? Like this is roughly a similar team that we've seen the last couple of years. And the crazy part is, like Simp might not even be the best player on that team, right? Like we all talk about Simp. Simp gets all the talk, but Abizi has probably been the best player in Cold War up until this point. But I
Mhm.
think Simp is right there with them. So
Yep.
this is a team in my mind with the 2 best players in the game that are asking for teammates who are also all stars in their own right to just step up in this event. Just play your game. We don't need Arcides or Celium to be 100%. You don't got to be all stars for us to win. You just got to do your job and let us do what we do. I think it would be a huge upset if Chicago or New York were able to take them in round 2. I don't see them really facing a challenge, honestly, until they play a team like Toronto that we know has been able to at least keep pace throughout the year. But
Mhm.
the only way they lose in my mind is they choke it. I don't think if they're playing at their game, anybody is honestly close to them right now. And like the standings have kind of represented that throughout the year. So that's not a shocking statement to make. But I still believe that going into champs that they're a clear cut one. Everybody else is, there is a large gap here. It's
Mhm.
not like somebody has been on their heels. We're talking about a 10 win differential between first place and second place. And that's not a fluke. You can't do that through 40 plus matches in 5 majors and all of a sudden, you just fall off. It's happened. It could, but I think it's so unlikely that if Atlanta doesn't win this, it's a disaster for them as a group because I know what the expectations got to be for them and they've just kind of proven it outside of stage 5. They've won 3 out of the 4 and they were dominant in those wins. It's not like they squeaked by and everything is going to the end. I think what makes it tougher is these are also like best of 9s as you get into the last round here. So if they make it to the finals, a team's got to beat them in a best of 9. Like like Tim said, it took Dallas to really pull a rabbit out of their hat to be able to do that last time. I don't know if that happens again.
And then you have the other team that not a lot of people are talking about, and I don't necessarily know why, but Toronto. Toronto just does not seem to get the same amount of love as what you would consider a top team. When I say that, I mean Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, those type of teams.
The popular teams you're talking about.
The popular teams. But even then, it's just like people just forget that Toronto's like coming into this second place in the league.
After they dropped Methods, like that was a big personality on the team. You know, Methods is somebody that Chef Tony, we had him on the show. Like he's just a character. Like the guy is just, he's the most outspoken person on that team. He interacts with the most Call of Duty pros. He puts out the most content. So that's where the fans can kind of relate, right? Like people don't really care two shits about org content, right? Like that's a side chick, right? The content that most people are consuming are content directly being put out from the players. They don't have anybody that really does that at a high level outside of Method. So once he kind of left the fray, people were more just willing to talk about them as, oh my gosh, they dropped Methods or benched Methods versus oh my gosh, look at what this team has been able to accomplish. But if you're sleeping on them from a talent perspective, you're not paying attention to Call of Duty. These guys are phenomenal. They showed it at the end of last year, the final stage. They had kind of started their rise, I guess you could say, and then they never let off the pedal throughout the whole year. They've been one of the more, obviously the second most consistent team, but they've shown the most consistencies in the majors, and they've earned the right to be sitting there with the bye week.
Yeah, I think that I mean, you got to look at just the insight. I mean, that kid. I mean, the rookie of the year conversation is Insight and Standy, and then Hydra's kind of like the dark horse. But like that kid has played phenomenally. They went all EU, which is I think one of the big reasons that they did that. But I think that yeah, I mean they consistently beat the top teams. They've consistently beat Optic. They've consistently beat Dallas. They have played very, very well all year. There's no reason that they shouldn't be considered one of the strongest, most consistent teams in the league. They just haven't made the finals as much, as FaZe. That's probably the only difference. Like FaZe has made every final, and Toronto, or every final other than this last one, and then Toronto has made one that they won, and then everything else they finished third or fourth. So they're the perfect recipe of consistency. They're the Patriots. They're the guys that right now, like you're just like, that they have a chance to win. You just don't know if they're going to do it. And there's a very, very, very good chance that a lot of people are going for the flashier names like FaZe and Optic and Rocker after their win, and Dallas because of envy and everything. Maybe even LA Thieves as a dark horse. There's going to be a lot of popular opinion that's going to be like, really? I mean, Toronto is a good team, but are they really going to win it all? Like, I think that they could be really slept on, but the other teams are not. I mean, every other team that's going up against Toronto is going to be ready to go. And I really want to see a Rocker rematch in that semi. With
everyone wants to see that.
Yeah,
Toronto's going to come out the gate ready to be like, we're going to beat these guys this time. But if they lose one match, how quickly is that mindset going to revert to? Oh shit, we lost 5-0 against these guys.
I think both of them are going to be pissing their pants a little bit going into that matchup because you don't know, hey, hopefully this doesn't start off as bad because do we have another one of those comebacks in us? Or like you said, vice versa for Toronto, you start losing a couple of early rounds and it's like, oh shit, maybe they have our number, But I think Toronto is primed and ready for this event. Like you said, outside of a couple of fumbles here and there for them throughout the season, they've been stellar. They're going to, I think, they, like I said, they've beaten Dallas and Optic really easily throughout this year. They haven't struggled with that team. They've struggled with some other teams, but like the two other prime contenders, they really haven't had issues with. They've kind of manhandled Dallas for the most part throughout the year, and that's who they're looking to face in round 2 if it's not Minnesota. So I think, both of these top two teams, again, deserving of their spots. And honestly, my prediction, which seems like such a non-bold prediction and the easy one, is like I expect to see both of these teams playing in the finals. Like they've just been that good that it's the easy money bet, right? You're looking for a dark horse. These are not your bets. You're not going to make your money betting on these two teams. But if you're looking for a safe bet, I think these teams are reliably safe. Like they haven't given you a reason to think otherwise. And that's so important because we now had 5 majors under our belt. We've had a regular season. Like we have a lot of demos to go and watch and footage to see of these guys, and they've done it all year. And so, either way, I think we're set up for an awesome event at Champs. Like I really think this season, with all the hiccups, all the hurdles, thank God the teams have at least lived up to the putting in the work, giving us a good show, regardless of what you think of the game, regardless of what you think of the developer, the league. We have good teams. We have really, really solid talent in the league, and that's the most important thing for the long term health of the league. So I'm excited for this Champs and getting it back on, on land in front of fans after a whole year and a half of really not happening outside of an event or two. This is going to be big. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
So again, that is going to be tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, you have the first rounds and everything like that. Before we let you go, Nerd, I know you've already said it earlier, but Minnesota, that is your prediction?
Yeah, I've got Minnesota being Atlanta, like 5-4. I think Minnesota's going to play every game close, and they wouldn't be Cardiac Rocker if they didn't play it close all the way in the end. So I hope that happens. Go Rocker. If you're not a Rocker fan, hope your team does awesome because I love all the storylines. There's a great, Cinderella story with kind of every team here if they win. So it's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be awesome.
You're absolutely
Tim,
right.
your pick?
He's right though. Every team has a reason to root for them, and I hate that, except for Optic because they suck. Like I would never if there's one team, if I was a rando fan in this and I was like, what team sucks completely in this? Optic would obviously be my pick because they just suck. But
the green wall is just going to come.
Green wall can't touch me.
Green wall can't touch me. This is why we're being canceled tomorrow. Just so you know, you're getting the early preview.
I think Optic is just smoking hex weed a little too soon, testing that product out, and they're just gonna get bounced. I'm not adventurous. If I want to stick with my dark horse pick, I'm going to pick New York. If I was putting money on it though, I would just be safe and go Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I'm going with the smart money here. I think Atlanta's too freaking good. I'm going to pick them to go into the finals. If you want my dark horse pick, like if we're doing a dark horse pick type thing, I'm going to take it real dark on you guys and say LA Thieves make a crazy run. But I don't see that realistically happening. I'm just like hoping for some fun upsets. Like I want to see untraditional stuff happen. Don't get me wrong. Like I want to see stuff that we don't expect. I have no like dying interest in any of these teams. I like them all. I root for them. I want to see some good games. I think Atlanta is the team to beat. They're the front runner, and that's who I'll ride with here. But honestly, I think we're going to see a 1-2 matchup. Like it's not even that exciting from a prediction standpoint for me. I think we're going to see Atlanta and Toronto both in the finals and both deserving. And one of those teams is going to walk out with $1 million in their back pocket.
Nuts. All right. Well, there you have it. Little CDL Champs preview. Let us know what you think in our Discord and or Twitter at The Center Ring. You can follow Unfiltered Nerd at Unfiltered Nerd. Correct? It's not spelt anything fancy.
Mm-hmm. Nope. No spaces.
Just at Unfiltered Nerd. Sir, thank you again for coming on the show. As always, it's fun to catch up. I don't know when the next time we will, but one of these days we'll play Valorant with you too.
Absolutely.
We got to do some gaming. That'll have to happen at some point. So,
hey,
whether it's Valorant...
before I get off. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
Oh, if I could say one thing, I'm addicted to Hades. It just got added to Game Pass. It won a lot of Game of the Year awards last year. If you have not played that game and you're struggling to find some nights with the boys and you're just able to play solo games, you're sick of solo queuing and all that stuff, go download Hades and give it a try because it is one of the most fun games I've played in probably the last 5 years.
Tim literally just brought this. Didn't you just say this yesterday? Yesterday or the day before?
I think last night.
He was just saying hey, this game has won a shit ton of awards. It's a game we should probably try out now that it's on Game Pass. It just got added not that long ago. Yeah. So appreciate that. I think I will actually go download that right after the show and maybe just jump in. And we have a little bit of time right now. A lot of us are waiting for Battlefield. A lot of people are waiting for Age of Empires, things that are coming out in like a month or so from now, for a month and a half for a lot of these games. So we got a little bit of time to kill. We will have to jump in and do some gaming here. Figure out some new things to experience over the next month and a half.
Fillers, some filler
For
episodes.
sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
Just get me to Battlefield and New World. That's all I need. I don't need you to be Game of the Year. You just get me to Battlefield, Halo, and New World, and then we're good. That's
We're
really
Gucci for the rest of the year.
Get me
after
to
that.
like October. That's it. That's all you need to do. So, anyways, we'll see. We'll catch up there. Probably sometime around then to have you back on, talk about whatever. We'll see. Whatever comes up.
All right.
But anyways, man.
Thanks a lot, dude.
Good to have you on,
Thank you,
dude.
guys.
See ya.
Appreciate it.
All right, Anuj. Let's get into some yikes of the week, but an emergency yikes of the week. Always good, though, to have unfiltered on.
It is, man. The guy it's funny because he just enjoys gaming, and he's like, he plays a lot of multiplayer. He does a lot of single player. He just plays a lot of games. And it's always fun to have conversations with people like that because we know they're like-minded, right? Like, we just like talking gaming. That's what Tim and I do. So
Just
having
reminds you of
anybody
a
else
time in our
join
life
in-
where we could have done that.
Yeah.
Where we
I mean,
did do that.
We did do that. That's how we're doing this.
Now we're old with kids, and it's like, hey man, you got 30 minutes to play. Get on,
My
please.
back hurts just sitting here for the show.
Bro,
Like
no joke.
a lot
Do
of
you
shame.
see me? Do you see me like constantly shift?
Bro, I'm in the same thing you are. I'm constantly moving.
Like today though, especially, it's like this chair is killing me.
We need a chair sponsor that actually makes good chairs.
Like,
I don't need. Who do we got here for free?
Hey,
I don't want you. I don't want them calling me. Okay,
free advertising.
These chairs are
Your
not
chair
good.
Sucks.
I need somebody that makes a good chair to give us a call and let's work something out because this is getting a little brutal. Yes, emergency yikes, Tim. So we do have, this is more of an emergency PSA. Okay, I hate to call it a yikes because there is an accomplishment attached to this. That's not a yikes, but I think it's just more important for people to hear this because
Positivity month, not a yikes, but still a PSA.
Yeah, just a PSA. I just want to make sure it's out there. So recently we had It's Timmy. He plays Apex. I think he was like a Fortnite player prior to that. I know he's well known in the community, obviously. He just did a one stream session for 54 hours continuously playing Apex Legends, going from Bronze 1 to Predator solo queue. Incredible feat in the sense of doing that in a 54-hour span in one play session. Like Tim and I were talking about this before the show, and we both, I think, agreed that the most impressive part of this feat for a player like him is just being able to stay up for 54 hours and continuously play. Like that's hard. If you've never stayed up for even 24 hours, like it's just insanely hard to do that. Sounds brutal, right? It really does. His stream blew up, and he got, hundreds of thousands of people tuned in throughout the 54 hours to watch him do this, and he was able to do it, which him doing that is not a surprise. He is one of the best Apex Legend players. He is going to get to Predator. That's not the shocking part. It's just doing it in 54 hours. PSA here. Don't do this. That's the easiest thing I can tell you. Do not do this. I don't know how many years It's Timmy tick off of his life. In this one, I think doing the math on our Excel spreadsheet, it said about 3.5 years subtracted from total lifespan. But this is really a very unhealthy idea. And I know a lot of people saw this as a huge feat and look at how his stream blew up because of it. This is not the way to go.
So what you're saying is you
literally die doing shit like this. Like there are stories out there of people playing for extended periods of times that literally die doing it. So it's not a healthy route. Keep your health in check. Health comes first. Don't try to mimic this shit. It's just not a good idea. And that's really all I wanted to say on it. There's not much more.
You're
to
such
it.
a gamer
it's
dad
a bad
now.
idea.
You're such a dad.
I gotta look out for our kids, man. Are the people that listen, the people that enjoy the show. I know we have a bunch of different age brackets here. People see this all over Twitter, Reddit. It like blows up. It's unhealthy. It's not good for you. It's a fun thing that he did. I'm glad that he did it. I'm more glad that he survived doing it because it would have been a tragedy to see somebody dead on stream. Um, I can't believe that he was able to stay awake for 54 hours.
I don't see
That
how it's
sounds
possible.
miserable.
Like, I just
to me.
don't. I don't see how that's possible. Like, how old is he?
I mean, he's young. He's in his
Okay.
like
So maybe back
low
then. But
20s.
even then, though, dude.
I don't know. 50, 54, 50, 50
Maybe
54,
if I was
55
just
hours, whatever
making
it
bank
was,
from
like,
donations, it's probably easy to motivate me to do it.
if you're him,
Right.
yes, because you're seeing that you have hundreds of thousands of people tuning in. He was already a big streamer before.
I just
this.
don't
It's
see
not
how
like-
your heart doesn't explode.
I mean, terrible. Well, this really had to be so bad on his body. So again, just want to throw it out there. Don't copy this shit.
So
Let these guys do it.
I should probably
And-
scratch off 54-hour episode idea, is what you're saying. Because we were going to
Tim,
do it. We were going to
If
do
we
it.
push 2 hours, I get exhausted.
I know.
We
Right?
play 2 games of Counter Strike, and we've generally called it a night.
That's
Like,
more
man,
so
we had a
though.
good gaming session. Time to
That's more
get
so
about
just
6
because
hours.
that's Counter-Strike. That's what Counter-Strike does for you. Counter-Strike will knock years off your life, and you can play for 2 hours, let alone 54. So, no, it's rough. It is rough. But you know it's not rough, Anuj? E-News, brought to you by Philly Esports. Our good friends over at Philly Esports host monthly events, and if you've been paying any attention, you know as of late, they've been pretty big ones. They just finished up their Call of Duty. Up next is Saturday, August 28th, 3-on-3 Rocket League event sponsored by the U.S. Army. $2,000 prize pool. It is completely free to sign up. This is, will actually even get you into a bigger event from what I understand as well. So go to phillyesports.net. You get your boys, you sign up, you go pro. You maybe, some lower tier orgs might be there. Notice you, sign you on to them, and that's how you kind of break into the scene. Everyone always asks, how do I get into esports? You don't do it by just signing with, Envy. You don't just sign with Cloud9 anymore. You have to do these events, whether they're online, in person, and guess what? A free sign-up is always better. So check them out, phillyesports.net. All right, some e-news to knock out. Zipnix has announced, Anuj, that he is exploring options now that his contract is on its way out for Astralis. You wrote leaving Astralis, sir.
I did.
He is
He's gone.
exploring his options.
He's gone. I don't need to be told otherwise. Zipnix will not be returning to Astralis, and I just don't see that happening. It's more likelihood that he signs with NIP than he does Astralis to go join Device versus going back. I think Astralis is just going to change directions here a little bit, but yeah, he is, and he's really young. I think he was 24, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like he's a
Zipnix is 24.
Yeah, he's not old.
I
Does that
don't-
surprise you?
I don't believe you. I'm looking this up. Before I look at his age, if he is 24, he is the oldest, and I don't mean physical looking, I mean style, the way he carries himself, the oldest 24-year-old in the world.
Hairline.
The hairline, his face.
He's 25. I'm sorry, he just turned 25.
Oh, even then, that is older than what I would have guessed.
He's 25 with 4
September.
majors under his belt.
So he'll turn
So-
26 in September. So yeah, I guess I did not know he was so young.
Yeah, he looks like he's 30, right?
He
You would
looks
put him
like
in his 30s.
He
or
looks
at
like
least
he
close
could
to.
do my taxes.
No, he still has plenty of career left in front of him if he chooses to do so. But yeah, he is exploring his options. I do think we'll see him, leave, and I think we'll probably see Dupree leave also. Would be my guess, and it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of good free agents available at the end of this year, and we'll see a pretty big mix-up. But they are, this is going to be a post-major change, so we'll see a lot of these same lineups here for the next few months.
Speaking of a different lineup, you will have NATO filling in for Config for Complexity for at least the foreseeable future, especially the ESL Pro League, as Config has to take 4 to 6 weeks off just from even practicing because he has shattered, not broke, shattered his wrist, his mouse wrist, nonetheless. So he has had successful surgery, so everything's looking good on that. So we're on track. He says recovery is 4 to 6 weeks, and then he can start on kind of the therapy to get back movement and normal muscle. The story behind this, though, sounds absolutely disgusting. Also a freak accident that never makes me want to leave the house. He was walking in the airport, looking at his cell phone, slipped on a puddle of water, wrist hits the guardrail next to him, completely shatters it, and now he had to have emergency surgery.
Couple metal rods and inserted into his wrist to keep it straight. Like brutal injury. Really sucks for him. Hopefully he makes a healthy recovery and gets to join the boys for the major coming up if they are able to qualify. But yeah, that is total freak accident.
Yeah, ouch. I Am Fall is to be hosting the final round of RMR, so we'll
13 days before the major. That is cutting it super close. I mean, pray for no delays, but that is really.
Hey, pro tip to all these teams: buy the airline and hotel package that you can cancel in case things don't work out.
Yeah,
because
learning that the hard way.
Hotels have no mercy on you if you don't. Oddly enough, airlines do. And speaking of, we already mentioned that the ESL Pro League, it did kick off. So that's season 14 for the ESL Pro League. It is being held online. So
Group A is actively going right now. That'll wrap up on Friday. Heroic currently with 3 wins, no loss, holding number 1 spot. Is looking very dominant now that it's back online. So good for them. They are really crushing it out in Group A. But that's a tough group. That's a fun group to watch, and we'll kind of keep that lightly updated throughout the season.
Yeah, and Group B kicks off this weekend with another handful of teams, so check that out. In Valorant news, which might be able to save for a full discussion later on, but we'll do it here. TSM's academy team that they just recently signed Noble's old roster as their academy team, has been told that they are not allowed to compete in VCT events because of conflict of interest. Orgs can only have one team competing in VCT events unless your second roster is a female roster. Then they are allowed to compete. So
yeah, I know there's been some grumbling about this overall. I do think if they are going to promote the health of the women's game, they have to allow orgs to have a second roster competing under a women's banner, because if you don't allow that, then you're not going to have teams signing all female teams. It's just not going to happen. And so I get why there's some uproar about this, but their academy team is also the ex-Noble roster. It's not like it's a true up and coming academy team. It's a very highly competitive team that they signed as an academy team. So I mean, I get it. I get some of the uproar, but if they're trying to marketing, right? They need to. It's going to be good for them to do this. B, for the health of the women's game. If they didn't do this, orgs just wouldn't sign female rosters, so that would in turn then kill the female Valorant scene. So it's almost like they have to do it this way. They could allow you to play with 2 teams, all male teams, but you start to get closer to conflict of interest issues there, especially if you sign 2 competitive tier 1 type men's team. They could really face off, which I don't think they're really worried about that right now with a female team getting to the top level of Valorant, really at least anytime soon, right? It's not that it can't happen. It's just we're not close to a point where you worry about Cloud9 White beating Cloud9 Blue in a semifinal.
And I think that's part of the issue that I have with this. First off, I don't think orgs should have 2 teams playing at all, whether it be all female, an academy, whatever. I just don't think it. I think the fact that Cloud9 for a while had 3 teams was an absolute joke when it comes to pro scenes. I think if Riot and every other pro team just wants to use their female roster as a marketing tool, fine, so be it. But they shouldn't also be able to compete in the VCT, and the only reason Riot's allowing it, and they're not going to say it, but it's because they know they never have to worry about it being a conflict of interest, because it will never get to the point where a female org is competing against their male counterpart at a high enough level at these tournaments where they really have to worry about conflict of interest. They'll
Again,
never
not
say
right
it.
now, right? We're not at that
No.
point where
We will one
you're
day.
worrying about that.
Yeah, we will one day, and I think then they'll have to actually make a ruling of, hey, you can't have a female roster anymore because they've gotten good enough. But
Unless they're hosting a separate tournament for female organizations, which is what we're trying to kind of push away from, right? Like everyone kind of wants to be in one group.
right.
They have to kind of allow it this way because again, it would just kill. And like the teams that have the ability to sign a second roster are generally the bigger orgs who already have a very capable men's roster, right? That they're fielding at the moment. So it would destroy the scene if they didn't make this rule.
The cynic in me though says you lose your brownie points then. Like you cannot tout yourself and pat yourself on the back and being like, guys, look at this. We have a female roster. Aren't we cool? Aren't we so new age? When it's only being used for a marketing ploy, and that's the only reason why you're doing it. It's the only reason. I will take it to my grave that there's no way these teams are paying these players thinking, you know what, we really think you stand a chance to compete against the top dogs.
The other side of that is like I do believe there are teams out there that want to advance the female side.
Oh, of course. I mean,
esports,
look
right?
at EG, right?
So like Dignitas and EG are both prime examples of that. I do believe Dignitas is fielding a female roster because they want to enhance the women's scene. I think EG is doing that too. But I do think there are also teams out there that will sign an all-female roster as a marketing ploy. Like it's good marketing for them. It attracts another part of the fan base. So it's not a bad move for an org to do, but you're probably not doing it with the intention of them bringing home VCT Berlin for you. Like they're probably not going to take it that far.
Just know we're on to you. We're on to you.
We know the difference between the reals and the fakes.
Yeah, you're not going to win a good dude of the week for it. That's all I'm saying. In other FPS news, Gears of War Hall of Famer Explosive and his teammate Praised is set to retire after this current major that is going on.
RIP E United. Like, what other teams are they fielding?
I don't know. I saw that when they made these announcements. Do they still have a Rocket League team?
I mean, it's dwindling for sure.
Because I know once...
no longer in CS, no longer
they have Rocket
in
League.
Call.
According to their website, they have a Valorant team. But if you click on it, there's no one on the roster, I don't think. They have some people, but no one that I would know. So, I mean, they're out there still. But, man, that's kind of depressing considering they were so... They need to pivot. Like, if E United wants to stay in org, they need to pivot their direction and maybe go into FGC, which they used to have a guy, but then he was caught in the Me Too movement with Smash. They need to pivot. I don't know what that entails.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously hurts because these are like Explosive has won 23 world championships in Gears, so it's like it hurts because they've lost a lot of good talent over the past.
There were those like very small rumors that went nowhere that they were possibly wanting to merge with Optic. Do you remember seeing that?
Yeah, I think that was them saying they wanted to merge with Optic.
Well, then so do we.
Yeah, like I don't think that was necessarily a
like hell. I'd want to merge with a lot of teams.
I don't know if those were like in advanced talks, I guess you could say.
In Battle Royale news, Fortnite and Call of Duty both add imposter-like game modes, much like Among Us. So if you're into that, go for it. I know some people on the internet seemed upset, like, oh, you didn't get Among Us permission? Listen, let's time out here. Since when do you have to ask permission to... Do you think Valorant asked... Like, Riot asked permission before making Valorant? Do you think Valve asked Blizzard before they made Dota? Like, that's just how this works.
Yeah, no, there's no dibs in game making. That's not how it works.
You think Epic is going to walk up to this indie developing team of Among Us and be like, hey, guys, do you mind if we borrow your idea of an imposter game mode that you also didn't make up? No.
Yeah, no. It's smart for both of them. Right?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love to make fun of Fortnite, but This is just the name of the game, really.
The big boys know what they're doing here.
Right.
They're not trying to be nice.
Yeah, like Fortnite didn't steal the idea of a battle royale game. Come on. That's how they got around. Like, what are you talking about? And in other news, Destiny 2 Showcase event takes place August 24th. This, Saturday? Sunday?
Yeah, I'm like curious to see what's next
Tuesday.
for Destiny, you know, because it does feel like a game that is like should be at the end of its life cycle and on to the next one type thing. But I know they want to keep furthering Destiny 2, so curious to see what direction they take it. This is not esports related. I don't think this has anything to do with that. Honestly, it's just if you play that game, it's a great shooter. Obviously, I know a lot of people that have enjoyed Halo and all that enjoyed these types of shooting games. So kind of curious to see what they.
And we actually used to be really big into it. Like we used to be.
Oh man, we played a ton of. I played hundreds of hours of Destiny. It's one of probably my most played games up until this point.
My one thing with Destiny is they just need to figure out end game. Like
they need to go from like an RPG to an MMO and figure out how to make that transition like feel more true. Like right now you don't get that vibe. You got a couple things you can go do. You got some busy shit that you can do, but it's not enough to like keep us going for, past a month or two of grinding.
And then it's like your PvP is really fun, but there's also like little things that just completely kill it. So then it's not really worth doing. But I've always said this, like Destiny 2 has some of the best PvP that if it ever wanted to be in esports, I think it would be really exciting. They just need to tweak it, but they just don't. They truly.
Yeah, they just don't seem to have the desire to push that or balance it, whatever the issue is.
Yeah,
they don't have
do anything, even from like a casual PvP standpoint. Like they are perfectly fine with like a gun just dominating it forever until the next gun comes out to dominate it forever. So we'll see. This is just me as a Destiny 2 fan. We'll see if we get back into it. Probably not, because again, got a lot of games coming up, a lot of games right around the corner. So we'll see. We'll see what's up. But there you have it. There is episode 351 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. Thank you to Alt and Philly Esports for sponsoring the show. Thank you to Unfiltered Nerd for hopping on to talk some CDL Champs. Good lengthy preview there for all those interested. Appreciate it. Appreciate it if you listened live. Wolf in chat, what's up? Also, if you listen to the podcast, if you listen to the recording, love you all the same. We will be back Sunday, Monday night. We'll see how our personal schedules line up, but if the stars align, we'll be back Sunday night talking some champs updates, talking some VCT, because we'll have pretty much all the teams locked in by then. So we'll definitely update everything on VCT, maybe some ESL Pro League, as Group A will be finished. Group B would have started, so there'll be enough to talk about then. So who knows? We're ramping up in esports, ladies and gentlemen.
A little streaming this weekend. We got some gaming we can do.
Yep.
I think Tim and I are going to mess around in Need for Speed.
Kicking it
Heat.
old school. Very
Taking
excited.
it a little old school here,
Kicking
so
it
we'll probably
old
mess around in that this weekend.
So keep an eye on it at the Center Ring on Twitter. So that's the best way to do it. But until then, until next time, until we see you on Discord, thank you for listening. We love you, and we'll see you. Goodbye. Okay. Man, these chairs, they gotta go. They gotta go.
Got to, yeah.
They're killing me.
You know what? Let me see if this fucking company is having a sale.
Double Agent is fun in Call of Duty. Is that like a MP game mode or is it a Warzone game mode? Like, is it free? Like, is that something we could do? Not like I ever would, but.
Wait, are you
MP.
asking me?
No, Wolf in chat. He was
Oh.
saying that it's fun, but. My thing is so there, Descent on Steam, which is a free-to-play game, to me was awesome. It was a lot more fun than Among Us, but for whatever reason just didn't get the polish or the praise. But Descent on Steam, which is also free to play, is the same type of similar imposter. You have two people who are working together, which I think is Among Us two people, two imposters.
Yeah, two imposters.
Okay. I've only played like a handful of games. But it's fun. I liked Descent more than Among Us, but
So this chair that I want from a company that makes a similar to like those Herman Miller style chairs, their version of the chair is 500.
Is that the company that sponsors Optic?
No, that's Mavic. So oh yeah, you know what? I wonder what their chairs go for and look like.
Maybe you could shoot them an email, be like, "Hey, we host a podcast and would love if you just sent us some of these chairs here."
Mavic's for their cheapest model is 555. Their most expensive, it's all leather. I don't care for all leather anymore. Is 1,000.
$1,000. Fucking.
This is the one that
high.
Van Sealy actually recommended.
Oh,
And I should ask him what he
like off mic.
thinks.
Yo, bro. Off mic. What do you
Well,
think?
now he's had it for like a year, you know?
Well, we've had these for much longer.
And I've hated it majority of the
That's
time.
what I'm saying. So ask him off mic so he gives you an honest, not advertised answer. We don't have to risk anything. I don't know why my camera's not like in focus, but
It's like autofocus is on for you.
is it?
Yeah, because every time you're moving, it's pulling you out of focus.
Okay. I think I was sitting too far back. I think
In comfort mode today.
Yeah. Well, I'm not in comfort mode. My back feels like it's about to explode because of
yeah.
this thing.
So $500.
That's so much for a chair.
It is.
Like, what about just getting one of those like ass pillows, the purple ass pillows, whatever?
Yeah, I think I just need to do something for my chair is the problem. I think my chair is just like a big fucking issue.
I agree. Because we have the same chair, and we both have the same exact complaints about it.
They have like a
like-
Pro Plus version of the chair that's $699.
Like, this is
Jesus.
better than my chair at work, but my chair at work is like the cheapest office chair that a company can buy you. So it's not saying much.
You know, my chair at work is one of those really big leather chairs, like the high seated back,
Oh, yeah.
all leather. And it's actually like, it's not supposed to be like it's like one of the executive looking chairs or
Right.
whatever. It's super comfortable though. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of just fall into it like I do a couch, which I don't know if that's like good for long term seating, but it feels more comfortable than this chair that I'm using.
That's the difference, right? Is long term. Like, okay, if we're putting in 2-3 hours. I know Morgan's old job that she used to work at got her a Herman, I think it was Herman Miller chair. But like one of the
and
big
you can
ones.
find like also you can find like even Herman Millers on. There's like some sites out there that sell like refurbished Herman Millers that are not like they're a company or office chairs, you know.
Right.
And it's like that might be something to look at, but I don't know if I want a fucking used chair. Somebody's farts all fucking dusted into the pads and stuff. Like I don't know.
I feel that. That's respectable. All right, I'm going to kill the stream. So anyone in chat, love you. Thank you for stopping by. Kill the stream so we can get to editing this and go from there. So until next time, peace out.
God bless. Godspeed.